We got off at the metro site, and oh my God, I looked to my left down toward the memorial, and it was just a sea of people. And you couldn't find an empty place all the way down to the Lincoln Memorial.
When I served in the Navy, women were not even allowed to vote.
There were tens upon tens of thousands of people there, all helping to give recognition to the immensity of what this memorial was and will be.
We are here today at Arlington Cemetery before this beautiful memorial on sacred ground to honor and pay tribute to the generations of American women who have served and are serving in our nation's armed forces.
It was so powerful, and there was nothing else to do but cry.
Thank you. America knows what you do and what you have done. Maybe it hasn't always been recognized in the past, but today we proclaim loudly and clearly, we recognize it, we're grateful for it, we say God bless you, and we will always thank you for helping to make our country what it is.
Well, I was sitting on the dais, and one of the things I had planned was for the military to bring the flags of the states and territories down that aisle. I have talked to some of the people who are carrying those flags, and they said it was one of the most unforgettable moments of their life because people were reaching out and touching those flags. It meant so much to them.
I am Captain Linda Bray. I stand for the women who served in Grenada, Panama, and the Gulf War.
It was overwhelming. It was a feeling of pride. It was a feeling of camaraderie to see so many women in one place. And to have them still wearing their hats or maybe their ribbons on their suit.
Because one of the things I had encouraged them to do was if you can't wear your uniform, wear whatever part of it fits. So some of them had on their hat. And that's all they had. But they came.
Shortly, the doors of your memorial will be open. Let's go down and cut the ribbon.
There are so many memories of the dedication. And one of them is a quotation from an Army nurse that served in World War II. And to me, it epitomizes what this memorial is about. When she wrote, "Let the generations know that women in uniform also guaranteed our freedom, that our resolve was just as great as the brave men who stood among us. And with victory, our tears fell just as hard." And that's the mission of the memorial, to let the generations know that women in uniform also guaranteed their freedom.
Hi, my name's Becky Knepper. I'm the new commander of the Spanish Fork American Legion Post 68. I was also recently appointed as an ambassador for the state of Utah for the Military Women's Memorial. And I'd just like to tell you how I got involved. First of all, I spent 27 years in the Army. And my last tour was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I was fortunate enough in 1997 to go to the dedication of this wonderful memorial that is the only memorial dedicated to all the women who served in the military or with the military in America. While I was at that memorial, one of my favorite speakers there, and we had a lot, Vice President Al Gore spoke to us. There were a lot of dignitaries in attendance: Bob Dole, Sandra Day O'Connor, Kenny Rogers sang to us. But my favorite person was a woman who was 101 years old. Her name was Frida May Hardin. She joined the Navy during World War I. And when she spoke to us, the reason she's my favorite speaker, and the thing that stands out to me, is she told us that when she enlisted in the Navy, she didn't have the right to vote. And that has just stuck with me since I heard her say that. Women have always served in the military, served with the military from the beginning of our country. During the Revolutionary War, we all know this story about Molly Pitcher, but there were many other women who dressed as men so that they could fight for our freedoms. We know some of them. One is Deborah Sampson. She served for 2 years, and they didn't find out she was a woman until the very end. But there are a lot of women who went unknown, unnamed, who also served. One of the other women that is a hero of mine served as a Buffalo soldier, the only Buffalo soldier that we know of during the Civil War, and her name was Cathay Williams. She enlisted under the name William Cathay, and she served for 18 months as a man until she was found out. These are heroic women, but there are a lot of women who have served who we don't know about. And one of the wonderful things about this memorial is they have a database where every woman who has ever served in the military for the United States or served with the military can register their service. And it's important that we get those women registered before we lose their stories, because we too fought. And one of the other reasons that this is such a passion for me is because oftentimes people forget that women serve. My own dear mother, one time I said to her, you know, I'm going to join the American Legion just to remind them that women also served. And she said to me, oh, Becky, I think you'd be more comfortable in the auxiliary. Well, my father was in the military, so I could be in the auxiliary. I qualify, but I'm a veteran, and I belong in the American Legion, not the auxiliary. Not that there's anything wrong with the auxiliary. They do wonderful things, but that's not my place. The president of our foundation, one of the reasons she got so involved is because she got out of her car in a parking lot, and a gentleman questioned why she was driving her husband's car and parking in a veteran's parking space without her husband. And she too is a veteran and deserves that space just as much as any man. Disney's film Moana is about a girl on the island who she doesn't understand why her family won't leave the island. She wants to leave the island, but she doesn't have enough courage to do that until she finds out about her ancestors who were voyagers. And that story gave her the courage to do what she wanted to do to fulfill her dreams. And there have been studies done that show that families that share their stories of the good and the bad that happens in our families are happier families. And their kids, their children are more self-confident and more productive, live a better life, having known the courage of their ancestors. And I have an example of that in my own family. My great-great-grandfather and his wife lived in Moroni. And he passed away in 1870. He had 2 daughters that lived in Grantsville, and his wife, who was 56 at the time, decided she had nothing left for her in Moroni. No other family, her husband was dead and buried, and so in 1870, she walked the over 100 miles from Moroni to Grantsville, Utah by herself with a sack lunch. She set out with a sack lunch, and fortunately there were people along the way, gave her other food and shelter, but I just am amazed at what courage that took at that time to make that journey. And that has given me the strength to do some of the things that I've done in my life, like join the military. So I have some facts and figures here. The state of Utah has 10,830 women veterans that could be registered, both living and deceased. There are 1,126 of them living, but only 727 of the entire amount of women veterans in the state of Utah have been registered in the memorial. So that's only almost 7% of those stories that could be told. And as our women who served during World War II are passing away, there are very few left. We're coming up on the same thing with the Korean War. The Vietnam War is reaching that same status. We're going to lose those stories. And we need to get those women registered. It's free. I have forms. They can call me. They can go online and register, or if they're like me and a little computer challenge, they can get their granddaughter to help them and register their story. And they can put whatever they want. They can put a picture of them in the service in there. They can write their best memories, or they can have just the most basic details, their name, when they served, what branch they were in. It's up to them. The more of a story we have, the more there is for our future generations to read about these courageous women. And one of the things that you can do is for $10, you can get a copy of your story with whatever you've submitted. So this is mine. I've got my picture, I've got my best memories, and then just basic information. Once again, I encourage family members to get that information into the memorial so that your great aunt Frances or whoever, that her story can be there for your grandchildren to go read about.